Hey everybody, it's me, Remy the Comic Book Poser, and I'm here to welcome you to Enter the Poserverse. First of all, we did it. We hit 750 subscribers, and to that I want to say thank you all very, very much. We did it by the goal, which is tomorrow, February 16th, which means I'm going to put up 2 slabs for grabs. These 2 hotel number 1s at a 9.2. If you go back to the video that I've been linking all over the place, on the week after, so what's that, like the 23rd? Yeah, on Tuesday, February 23rd, that is the deadline. And on New Comic Book Day on the 24th, I don't think I'm going to go live, just because I've got a busy end of the month, but I will release a video of who wins the slabs. Figured we'd knock that out, but to see what books made the top of my list from last week, and which books you should get 5 on, you should check it out after this.
Hey, little girl, did you want to know a secret?
I got 5 on it. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Full disclosure, I am ranking my books, and there are still 4 or 5 I have not finished. So if I end up liking any of these books and I have buyer's remorse, I will let you all know. But Commanders in Crisis number 5, Mighty Morphin number 4, The Vein number 5, Scarent Hood number 4, and Casual Fling number 1 are the books that I'm probably going to read while a couple of videos are batch processing, because you'll notice I'm wearing the same goddamn shirt in a lot of things. So, to talk about the books that made the top of my list this week, we've only got one honorable mention, and that is Taskmaster number 3 from Marvel Comics. It is written by Jed McKay, artist is Alessandro Vitti, and the colorist is Guru EFX. So we know that Taskmaster is on the hunt to find several different, top-ranking members of, I think it's Sword, because he needs to get into a secret database to try and figure out who is framing him in the death of Maria Hill. And if you're not familiar with Taskmaster, right, he's got to observe people to be able to pick up all of their mannerisms, to be able to do his thing, to break into this machine, right? That he needs to be able to match, I think it's like walking pace, like vocal tenor, like a bunch of different things, and then he just method acts his way through those things. So this is him set up in South Korea, where he's working with an apocalyptic cult, and the first several pages of that is hilarious. But it's his plan that he's injecting these people with superpowers, so he can use a Pym particle to shrink himself down and ride to one of the secret bases on the back of who is that? South Korean superhero. I don't remember his name. But he hitches a ride there and then uses that as his option to keep an eye on the director of the base of operations there in South Korea. When he's there, he finds out some of the things that he needs to know, but then he also has to deal with somebody finding him and trying to cash in on the price on his head. But here's where you see the brilliance of Taskmaster, that he is able to reap what he sows from the doomsday apocalyptic cult at the end of the world to set us up for issue number 4. This was a really cool read. You actually see Taskmaster decide to not do kind of the worst that we have come to expect from him a couple of instances in this book, and that's quite surprising. Coming in at number 5 is Heavy number 5 from Vault Comics. This is written by Max Bemis with art by Eric Donovan, Chris Peter, and Taylor Esposito on the letters. So we know that the book prior to this was wild, that there was a war that essentially ripped a hole through part of time and destroyed part of like a bunch of innocent civilians on one of the timelines. So we know that Bill is in a bad spot mentally, right? And he's heard that he's not able to see his wife anymore. What we get at the front end of this book is kind of the insight into the night where you see some things happen that really set up the beginning of the end of the relationship with he and his wife. And we've seen Slim a couple of times, right, have to clean up the timeline of some of the scumbag things that he's done. And this is the first time where Bill has to look at either making something happen or preventing something from happening in a particular timeline to kind of keep doing his job. The other thing that is quite humorous to me in this book is we get a lovely conversation about Bill and Slim's relationship with a really hilarious set of jokes about Brokeback Mountain kind of love, which I enjoyed watching kind of each of their reactions to it. But the other thing that's kind of cool, and I'm just going to go woo, and you can freeze that, we finally get to see what Max Bemis thinks God looks like, and it's pretty hilarious, especially in the conversation that Bill and Slim have with God, where Bill is trying to really figure out how the whole system may or may not be rigged, if there's some truth to some of the things that they found out. And then this is the end of the first arc, and what is revealed in the last page as to who may be showing up and in what capacity makes me really excited to read book number 6 that comes out. I don't know how long the break is between volume 1 and volume 2. But this has been one of my favorite reads because it's like reading The Punisher but in hell, and it's funny. So it brings in all kinds of, dark comedy, weird, relationship and conversational dynamics, and I just think the team on this book is doing a pretty solid job. Coming in at number 4 from Boom Studios is Origins number 4. It's written by Clay McLeod Chaplin. The art is Jacob Rabella, and the colors is Patricio Del Pesce, with letters by Jim Campbell. So in the book previous to this, we know that our duo makes it to a robot city where everybody kind of wants to walk around serving the last living human, because it gives those robots who are not necessarily connected to the network a sense of purpose, right? That they were built to serve humanity. They're not some kind of advanced AI. They are inherently tied to servitude. And then, when they see a human show up, it gives them that sense of, oh my God, we have something that we can do again, right? We have a reason to exist. That book ends in the network finding and attacking the town to try and, again, take down the last human being. And we know that our adventure party has to make it to the Vault of Life. What exactly is going to happen there is still not 100% clear, but we find all of the trials and tribulations along the way. And it, is now no longer a question of necessarily whether or not our party is alone, and at what risks will people with limited, little to no relationship with one another, or maybe not people since they're one person and a bunch of robots, what will they do to kind of help to take down the tyrannical entity that we know is nothing more than the network. Really good book. I wish this was more than a 6-issue arc, but I'm hoping that this book does really, really well, and we can find out what happens in arc 2, that this of 6 nonsense is just, here's arc 1. I want more, but I get heartbroken every week. Coming in at number 3, from Aftershock, is Knock 'em Dead number 3. This is by Elliot Rahal, with art by Mattia Monaco, Matt Milla, and again, Taylor Esposito on letters. So this book book 2 ended with, our main character crushing it at a stand-up comedy gig because he still had, that spirit that was housed inside of him, helping with delivery, helping all of those other kinds of things, right? His persona really is what helped him crush it. And you see that there's a push to get that spirit out of him. And lo and behold, we have an exorcism. And that exorcism is some amazing dialogue between the brother and sister, and then the priest who they have some kind of relationship with. But they decide that they want to exorcise the spirit from him, right? Because he could feel that he was becoming a husk, right? That the spirit of the man who died with him in the car wreck was just taking over his body, and it was causing pain and things like that. But then he realized without the spirit, he's not very funny. And what they decide to do to resolve all of this is hilarious in premise. I can't wait to see how it's written. And then it has a shocking repercussion in like the last panel or two that I want to see how we get steered in its direction on number 4. Like I said, this was a book that I missed the first week it came out. I am glad that I am current with this one. It's a hell of a good read. Just the art, the writing, everything sings together to build this dark world of, I want to make it on my own, unless I suck. Then what do we do? So you should check out Knocking Dead if you have not. I went back and forth on these last 2 books a couple of times, and it's a razor thin margin of what separates the 2 of them for me, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So coming in at number 2 for the week, also from Aftershock, is Scout's Honor number 2, written by David Pepos, who is the greatest tease in the world on Twitter, Luca Casalanguida on the art, and then you've got Matt Milla and Carlos Mangual. So a huge truth is kind of unveiled to our main character at the end of issue number 1, and now becomes a question of how they share that truth with their father. Is there anybody else who is in the Ranger Scouts with them that they can or should share this information with? Like, what do you do? And we find out that the dust-up with the Highwaymen in the middle of issue 1 is going to come back in some pretty fucked up ways, but we get to learn really how savage our main character is, and whether or not it changes their desire to become the Trail of the Eagle. I want to say Eagle Scout because I'm an Eagle Scout, and maybe at some point we'll show you my lame tattoo. Yeah, the Trials of the Eagle. So we'll see if what they have to survive here is a lot harder than the service project I had to do to get my Eagle Scout. It probably is. But the reason why this book is at number 2 is because I needed a little bit more in terms of action, just a little bit more in terms of like, does everybody really know why the Highwayman is after them? Is this now 2 secrets that our main character holding on to? Like, what is the sheer magnitude of those? And in talking about this book on Twitter and kind of having a little back and forth with Pepos, he's like, this shit is going to be wild in book 3. So expect to see a lot of high intensity pressure. Expect to get to see what the Trials of the Eagle look like. And I'm really excited for number 3. If you did not like Scout's Honor number 1, because you just, I don't know what's wrong with you, give number 2 a try, because I think these 2 books build enough of the world, enough of the conflict to still march forward with a clear vision, but with plenty of surprises for us as readers down the line. So what beats out my book that was pick of the week that it's number 1? This book, like my channel, is for mature readers only. Coming in at number 1, from Humanoids, Space Bastards number 2. Space Bastards number 2 is written by Eric Peterson and Joe Aubrey. Wright Robertson, the artist, is put on top because everybody knows who Derek Robertson is and how dope his career is. And I can't remember where this ranked. I think these 2 might have been flip-flopped in the first week. We've got Diego Rodriguez on colors and Simon Boland on letters. Book number 1 is so much of a giant shit show of watching how the International Postal Service plays its way out, that it is just a high stakes game of capture the flag that you get sucked into, and you're like, what the hell happened, to figure out how we end up on this world. And this entire book focuses on answering that question and telling us how we have everybody kind of fighting in the world to be a postal service worker to get that money. That we learn how our main character, through radical cultural appropriation, kind of gets one back at the people who thought they turned it over on him. But we learn the origin of the Postal Service. We know that he is preparing for a big speech that's going to drive something presumably in issue 3, but we get a lot of that background story, figuring out how and why he built it the way he did. The goal of, making a government agency kind of turn some profit, and just figuring out what that entire world looks like. This, for me, is just super crazy. I love it. I don't know how long this series is going to last, but I'm along for the ride. And 2 solid issues in a row has got, humanoids on my radar to figure out what other kind of stuff do they have going on that might be in kind of this crazy, irreverent world of, action, horror, Derek Robertson having people blown up all over the place. Like, I'm ready for more humanoids. That this was my first foray into that publisher, and I definitely want to check out more. So what do you think? Am I going to love any of those books that I showed off at the beginning that I hadn't read yet? I know Steve from Burke Family 54 is going to shame me for having Power Rangers at the bottom of my stack, but I'm taking a Lost in Comics kind of philosophical approach here. I put books at the bottom that I think I'm going to enjoy anyway, so I think I didn't make it to my palate cleanse of books, but really everything this week I think was pretty solid. That there was only one book that I was not a super huge fan of, and it wasn't Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts number 2 was really good, and that's the book that I thought I was going to hate. That there was, maybe 1 or 2 that missed the mark, but nothing that makes me go, that shit's off the pull list, unfortunately for my wallet. But let me know what you think about my rankings, in the live chat over here, in the comments down below. Go check out that video where you can get entered to win one of those 2 9.2 Hotel number 1 slabs. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.
Hey, little girl, did you want to know a secret?
I got 5 on it. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.